Welcome to Fueling Your Legacy, hosted by Samuel Knickerbocker. Each week, we expose the faulty foundational mindsets of the past and rebuild a new, stronger foundation essential in creating your legacy. We've got a lot of work to do, so let's get started. Welcome back to Fuel Your Legacy. This week, we are going to be talking about something that's really interesting and for me, it holds a little bit of, really a lot of personal connection to it. So this week we're talking about kind of around the idea of homeschool, but really how do you learn how to learn? Now, so many people, they just go to school. They think, hey, if I just go to school, I get good grades, I suck up to my teachers, whatever the case may be, then I actually will be just fine. And that's probably true, fine, if your goal is fine. But if you're really wanting to become financially independent, if you really want to succeed, chase your dreams, and just really launch yourself into a wonderful existence, then fine doesn't cut it. It's not going to cut it. And so we got to learn, how do we learn? And then for each individual, based on how they learn, the next question is, okay, where are you going to go get that education? So I'm going to share a little bit about what my childhood was like, how I learned, some of the good, some of the bad, different aspects about that, and how I ultimately came out, and now how I learn today, and what really helps me learn today. But then we'll talk about some other areas of how learning could maybe affect or things that you could learn. And then this Wednesday, we're talking about how to master public relations. Now, the reason we're going to talk about that, it seems a little bit maybe off the topic, but our guest on Friday, she is a public relations expert. She's been doing public relations since the dawn of time. No, not really that long, but she has been doing it for probably 20 or 30 years. And so she wrote a book called The PR Rules, the Playbook. And it really goes through how to master and explode your public relations, how to get out in the public eye, how to do those things. And for me, learning how to learn, I have had to go back through and really draw out how I learn and learn how to apply it here. One of the nice things, because she focuses so much on learning, she also has a whole website called Incandescent Learning, where she's focusing on creating a video library, almost very similar to YouTube, but just for educational purposes, where you can subscribe to it and get some educational videos. And it'll be like a school system where you can just apply for the classes that you want and just take the classes that you want. You don't have to apply for everything, but you can take the classes that you want every day, as often as you want, and learn just what you're interested in. And so it's kind of a new approach to the homeschooling idea, but also public schooling, and seeing if she can get that in everywhere. And so she's got a lot of professors, people who have taught in college or in public schools or homeschool people, different areas who have helped conglomerate that. But in her book, she incorporates many different ways of learning, visually, reading. I mean, there's a bunch of different ways to learn from her book. So that's why we're going to review that as just a kind of a highlight, a case study of what she's been able to do. And then I'm excited on Friday for her to tell her story and really what her mission and vision is right now for the future. But that is all going to happen on Wednesday. We're going to do the book review. And then on Friday, we're going to have her on as a guest. Now, let's dive into what did my experience of learning how to learn look like. So I've mentioned many times that I was homeschooled as a child. Now, I did not go to my first public school class till I think I was 14 or 15. Well, I take that back. I did go to Head Start and didn't last very long. I was a mischievous kid and would get in fights even as a young child. I didn't like nap time. I still remember to this day, we would stack our mats in the big playroom, and we'd have to clean up all of our toys and go and get our mats down, lay them all out, and then take a nap for 30 or 40 minutes. Well, I hated naps, and me and this other guy who, during playtime, we were enemies and we'd throw toys at each other. It was not very nice. But during nap time, we would sneak into the kitchen and sit underneath the table. I had a long tablecloth, so we'd hide underneath there, and we'd sneak into the fridge and get some of the lunch out of the fridge and eat underneath the table while everybody else is taking a nap. So that was my experience, my first experience with some sort of public education. Next, after that was not till I was 14 or 15 years old, and I purely just went because I wanted to learn math a little bit better. So I took math class, and then I was in the public school choir. And that was my experience of education that way. Now, when it comes to my personal education, what did that look like? So we started out, my parents, they first taught us to do ABCs. So we learned our ABCs. Then we went to 2-letter words, 3-letter words, and 4-letter words. We had a bunch of workbooks. And at some point in time, we switched over to, I played a lot of computer games, the Learning Company computer games. So I learned my typing from Mavis Beacon, computer game. I learned how to understand words, what they meant, the definitions, the semantics of them, and how to spell them. I learned a lot of that from a computer game called WordSmart. I learned what's it called? Basically make my mental skills, my memory, things like that better. We did a program called Brain Builders, and the whole game was just how to remember sequences of numbers and put them back in forwards and backwards and mixed up. And they would either flash them in front of you, or they would audially through the computers tell you what they were, and then you couldn't start typing until they were done. And the goal was how long of a number could you remember and regurgitate properly in the right order. And so I learned a lot of things there. I learned a lot on YouTube, a ton on YouTube. And then these Learning Company games, there was a lot of strategic interaction and having to solve problems, do history, and all these different things. So I learned a lot of things from computer games. I personally think that is a fantastic way to learn. We didn't have a TV growing up, so we didn't learn a lot from movies, but we definitely learned a lot on the computer. I was grateful that my mom and dad were able to give us that experience of learning in the way that we learned best. Now, my brother, Rex, you give him a math book, and he would do a little bit of math, but then you'd see him laying there on the bench. And I think he was super lazy, except for he was brilliant. And anytime you ask him what he was doing, he was just sitting there creating math problems in his head and then solving them. He just loved doing that. He ended up being an engineer. That's what he went to school for and graduated from the University of Utah. And so everybody has different gifts, and they learn differently. Because I am a little dyslexic and struggled learning the writing and things, then I did most of my stuff audially or in my head. So when it came to math, a lot of people, especially a lot of teachers, and this is hard when I went into public school through college and through high school, but they want you to write down your work. And if another person tells me, write down your work, and then I'll show if it's true, that just burns my buttons. I never enjoyed that comment at all. My philosophy was, when I'm failing your class, then I'll write down my work. My parents, they got these books called Ray's Arithmetic. And if you're somebody who struggles with math and has struggled with fractions in the past, Ray's Arithmetic, I think, is probably the best thing that you could do for yourself or for your family. It's all word problems. So it's word problems, fractions, and it's all intended up until like the 6th grade level books, which were actually like college level math, but back then it was 6th grade. These books, they were designed for mental math. And so they were to help me do all of my multiplications, all my fractions, all of that I could do in my head just by sitting there thinking about it and using my head as more of a calculator rather than having to actually use a calculator. Awesome way to learn math. It made all of my math classes so much easier because I actually was able to understand how I learned and then put how I learned into practice. So those are a few of the different ways that I gained my education. But now I still am a very heavily audio learner. So I do read occasionally and read books, but for the most part, I like listening to audiobooks. And I listen to about an audiobook a week, sometimes two, and tons of content through audiobooks. I also listen to a significant amount of content through podcasts of various natures, whether it's political, business, just life skills, entertainment. It doesn't matter. Like, I'm always listening to things. because I am an audio learner primarily. Second would be visual. So I do like to draw things out when it comes to graph time or trying to identify a flow of something. I'm very, very visual. So I would say I'm first audio, second visual, and then lastly, I like to actually go out and do things. So if you're somebody who fits into those categories, then we're right on track with me. But it's just an interesting thing to learn how to learn. And how do you learn? First, learn how you learn, and then put it into practice so that you're actually maximizing the full benefit of the gifts that you've been given. Because everybody has different gifts, and so many people try and fit themselves a square peg into a round hole, into the thing that everybody else is doing, trying to make themselves normal. I would say the greatest gift that you have is that you're not normal, that you're uniquely you, and that by being uniquely you, you have a unique gift to bring to this world, this earth, and as such, I encourage you to do so. I love that I have not succumbed very much. I'm sure I have in some areas, but I really do my best to do what I want and do what I feel is right every time, rather than thinking too much about what other people think I should be doing or think about what I could be doing somewhere else. Like all of that, it's kind of irrelevant to me. What I like to focus on is, am I doing my best for who I am? And as I've done that, it really has helped me become a greater person. Now, an example of that is when I started working in the field that I'm working in right now, and with my specific marketing firm, they wanted me to market a certain way. They wanted me to go get new clients a certain way. And I tried it for 2 or 3 years, and I just really struggled. I never really caught on. I never really jived with it, and I was never super successful. Well, then I decided, look, I'm done doing that. I'm going to go follow my dream. My dream, and where I believe I have the most success, is speaking on stage. I love speaking on stage. I'm confident that, one, you like listening to my podcast, or you wouldn't have listened to this far. I'm like episode 109 or 111, lots of episodes. So that's number one. But number two, if we were one-on-one, I would be able to communicate so much more powerfully and effectively than even through this podcast. Now, that's a skill and a gift that I've been given, I believe, and I've nurtured it, and I love doing it. I tried to put that down and tried to play this business and this world and my life based off of somebody else's rules for 2 or 3 years. I tried it, and it just wasn't successful. I wasn't successful. I didn't feel fulfilled. I didn't love going to work as much as I do now, and that was hard for me. Well, what has changed now is I've embraced fully public speaking. I've fully embraced the idea of serving and helping other people through speaking on stage. Now, some people, that probably terrifies them. For me, that's what fires me up, and that's where I feel I'm my greatest self. And so you really got to learn how is the best way for you to learn, and how, once you learn, what's the best way for you to share what you learned. Think about that this week as we go through these different aspects of how to create a good public relations aspect, whether that's with your family, your kids, your business, doesn't matter. PR rules are everywhere, and that they can be used in every area of your life if you choose to. So think about that, how you learn and how you share what you learned. And then on Friday, you're gonna get to hear, I don't know why my brain farted, but Hope Gibbs is our guest, and she really goes into some great detail. I even learned a lot talking to her about the different areas and different ways that we can learn and maximize the gifts we've been given to share them with the world and really help them launch ourselves and our families into the future financially. So super excited about that, and we'll catch you next time on Fuel Your Legacy. Thanks for joining us today. If what you heard resonated with you, please like, comment, and share on social media. Tag me so I can give you a shout out on the next episode. And thanks to all those who have left a review. It helps spread the message of what it really takes to build a legacy that lasts. Catch you next time on Fueling Your Legacy.